Christmas morning, your sister looks you in the eye and says, "Get out. We don't want you here anymore." That happened to me. But what she didn't know was that I had a red folder in my bag. A folder full of secrets that would destroy her perfect little world. A folder that made everyone in that room go completely silent when I opened it. My name is Bianca. I'm 32 years old, and I need to tell you about my sister Danielle. She's 4 years older than me, and she's always been the favorite. Ever since we were kids, she got everything she wanted. The best clothes, the nicest toys, all the attention. I was just there, the quiet one, the one who cleaned up messes and never complained. When we grew up, nothing changed. Danielle was still the golden child, and I was still invisible. But being invisible means you see everything. You notice things. You remember things that other people want to forget. And boy, did I start noticing things. 8 years ago, Danielle was getting married. She had this big dream wedding planned, but she didn't have the money for it. She came to me crying one day, sitting in my tiny apartment kitchen. "Bianca, I need your help," she said, tears running down her face. "I can't afford the venue I want. It's my dream wedding, and I'll never get another chance." I was working 2 jobs back then. I worked at an accounting office during the week, and I worked at a clothing store on weekends. I was tired all the time. I lived in a small, cheap apartment and drove a beat-up car. I didn't have much money, but I had some savings. "How much do you need?" I asked. $12,000. "I know it's a lot, but I'll pay you back as soon as we get the wedding gifts. I promise." $12,000 was almost everything I had saved. But she was my sister. She was crying. She said she'd pay me back. So I said yes. The wedding was beautiful. Danielle looked like a princess. Everyone talked about how perfect everything was. I felt happy that I could help make her dream come true. But after the wedding, when I asked about getting paid back, Danielle got upset. "The wedding gifts weren't as much as we expected," she said. "Most people gave us stuff for the house, not money. Can you wait a little longer?" I waited, and waited, and waited. Months went by. I never got my money back. But Danielle and her new husband, Mike, went on an expensive honeymoon to Hawaii. They bought a big house. They got new cars. When I asked about the money again, Danielle sighed like I was bothering her. "Family helps family, Bianca. You're being weird about money. It's not a good look." That was the first time she made me feel bad for asking for my own money back. It wouldn't be the last. 2 years later, Danielle and Mike wanted to buy a bigger house. They found this perfect place in a nice neighborhood, but they needed more money for the down payment. "Bianca, you're so good with money," Danielle said when she called me. "Mike and I are struggling. We need $15,000 for the down payment. Can you help us?" I should have said no. I should have reminded her that she still owed me $12,000 from the wedding, but she made it sound like an emergency. She made it sound like they would lose their dream home if I didn't help. "I'll pay you back this time, I promise," she said. "Once we get settled in the house, I'll pay you back everything." I gave her the money, $15,000 from my savings. They got the house. They never paid me back. Then Danielle had kids, 3 beautiful children. And of course, public school wasn't good enough for them. "Bianca, you don't understand," she said when she came to me about private school tuition. "These kids need the best education. They're so smart. They deserve better than public school. The private school costs $25,000 a year for all 3 kids. I can't afford it all," Danielle said. "But if you could help with just one kid's tuition, we could make it work. $25,000 a year? Every year? For years." I was working so hard by then. I had gotten a better job, but I was still working weekends. I was living in the same tiny apartment. I was driving the same old car. I never went on vacation. I never bought nice clothes. I never went out to dinner. But I paid for my nephew's private school every year because Danielle said it was for the kids, and I loved those kids. 4 years ago, Danielle came to me with her biggest request yet. She wanted to start her own business, a fancy clothing store. "This is it, Bianca," she said, her eyes shining. "This is my chance to be successful, to make real money, to finally pay you back everything I owe you. She had it all planned out. She'd found the perfect location. She'd already talked to suppliers. She had a business plan. I just need $50,000 to get started, she said. I know it's a lot, but this is going to make us both rich. I'll pay you back everything, plus interest. $50,000. It was almost everything I had left in my savings. But she seemed so sure, so confident, and she promised to pay me back everything she owed me. I gave her the money. The clothing store opened with a big party. Danielle was so proud. She posted pictures on social media every day. She talked about being a girl boss and living her dreams. But after a year and a half, she came to me crying again. The business failed, she said. I lost everything. I had to close the store. I'm so sorry, Bianca. I know I owe you money, but I can't pay you back now. I'm basically broke. I felt terrible for her. I really did. She seemed so sad, so defeated. Don't worry about the money right now, I said. Just focus on getting back on your feet. She even asked me for more money to help with the costs of closing the business. $8,000 for final expenses. I gave it to her, but something felt wrong. Danielle said she was broke, but she didn't act broke. She was still taking the kids on expensive vacations. She was still buying designer clothes. She was still going to fancy restaurants and posting about it on social media. When I asked her about it, she always had an explanation. Oh, that vacation was mostly paid for with credit card points, she'd say. The restaurant was for Mike's work. The clothes were gifts. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her, because if she was lying, that meant I'd been stupid for 8 years. Last January, everything changed. I was at Danielle's house helping her watch the kids. She was in the shower, and her phone was on the kitchen counter. It buzzed with a text message. I wasn't trying to read her messages, but the phone lit up, and I could see the text on the screen. It was from her best friend, Sarah. How was the vacation? Did you get Bianca to pay for the hotel again? LOL. My heart stopped. I stared at the phone, not believing what I was seeing. Then another text came in. You're so lucky to have a sister who's that stupid with money. I wish my sister was that easy to manipulate. I felt sick. I felt dizzy. I had to sit down. When Danielle came out of the shower, I acted normal. I played with the kids. I helped make dinner. But inside, I was falling apart. That night, I went home and cried for hours. Then I got angry. Then I made a decision. I was going to find out the truth. I started keeping records of everything. Every time Danielle asked for money, I wrote it down. Every time she made an excuse about paying me back, I wrote it down. Every time I saw her spending money she claimed not to have, I took screenshots. I opened a new bank account and started saving all my receipts. I printed out old bank statements. I went through my email and found every request for money Danielle had ever sent me. The numbers were shocking. In 8 years, I had given Danielle and her family over $180,000. Not just the big amounts I remembered, but dozens of smaller amounts too. Money for emergencies, money for unexpected expenses, money for just this once. $180,000. That was enough to buy a house. That was enough to retire early. That was money I could have used to start my own business, to travel, to live my own life. Instead, I was living in a tiny apartment and working 2 jobs while my sister lived in a mansion and took European vacations. But the bank statements were just the beginning. I started paying closer attention to Danielle's social media. She posted about her life constantly, but I'd never really thought about how much everything cost. I started taking screenshots, the expensive purses, the fancy dinners, the weekend trips to wine country, the designer clothes for the kids, the professional family photos that cost hundreds of dollars. I added it all up. In the year after her business failed, Danielle had spent over $30,000 on luxury items and experiences. Money she claimed not to have. 3 months into my investigation, I discovered something that made my blood boil. Danielle had left her laptop open at my parents' house during a family dinner. She'd gone to the bathroom, and I could see her group chat with her friends was open. I shouldn't have read it, but I did. The things they were saying about me made me want to throw up. Bianca's getting suspicious about money, Danielle had written. She keeps asking weird questions about how we afford stuff. Just cry a little, her friend Emma had replied. She falls for it every time. I know, right? Danielle wrote back. She's so desperate to be needed. It's actually kind of sad. I just have to act like I'm struggling, and she opens her wallet. How much have you gotten from her? Sarah asked. Oh my God, I've never actually added it up, Danielle replied. But it's got to be over 100,000 by now. Maybe way more. Then came the message that destroyed me. She's such a pushover. I could probably ask her for money to pay for my kids' college, and she'd do it. She's never going to get married or have kids of her own, so she's basically just a bank account for our family. I took pictures of the chat with my phone. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the camera steady. As I dug deeper, I discovered that Danielle's failed business wasn't as failed as she claimed. I found her business social media accounts, which she'd forgotten to delete. I found posts from just a few months ago showing the store was still open and busy. I drove by the location. The store was still there, still operating. It had just changed names. I went inside, pretending to be a customer. The woman working there was friendly and chatty. She told me the store had been doing great for years, but the original owner had sold it to her 6 months ago. She made a good profit, the woman said. Lucky her, right? She got to cash out of a successful business. Danielle hadn't lost money on the business. She'd made money. She'd sold it and kept all the profits. Money I had helped her earn with my $50,000 investment. The worst discovery came in October. I was checking my credit report, something I'd started doing every month. I saw a loan I didn't recognize, a personal loan for $35,000. I called the bank immediately. There's been a mistake, I said. I never took out this loan. Let me pull up your account, the woman said. Yes, I see the loan here. It was approved based on your credit score and income. You signed the paperwork in our branch office. I've never been to your branch office, I said. She was quiet for a moment. Ma'am, I think you need to come in and speak with a manager. I went to the bank that afternoon. They showed me the loan application. There was my name, my address, my social security number, and there was a signature that looked like mine, but wasn't quite right. This isn't my signature, I told the manager. Are you sure? He asked. It's very close. I was sure. I knew my own signature. This was similar, but not exact. Someone had practiced writing my name and had gotten pretty good at it. The bank agreed to investigate. They said it could take weeks to sort out. In the meantime, my credit was damaged because the loan payments were behind. I knew who had done it. I just had to prove it. I hired a handwriting expert. It cost me $800, but it was worth it. The expert compared the signature on the loan to samples of my real signature and to samples of Danielle's handwriting. This is definitely forgery, the expert said. The person who signed this practiced the signature, but you can see the hesitation marks. And the pressure patterns match the handwriting samples from your sister. I had proof. Danielle had forged my signature and taken out a loan in my name. She'd been making minimum payments to keep me from noticing, but she'd fallen behind. By December, I had everything organized into a thick red folder. I don't know why I chose red. Maybe because I was angry. Maybe because red means danger. And Danielle was definitely in danger. Inside the folder were bank statements showing every dollar I'd given her over 8 years, screenshots of her social media posts showing expensive purchases, photos of the text messages where she laughed about manipulating me, proof that her business didn't fail, the handwriting analysis proving she forged my signature, copies of the fraudulent loan documents. I carried that folder with me everywhere. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it, but I knew I needed to be ready. The night before Christmas, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the folder, about all the evidence I'd gathered. Part of me wanted to confront Danielle privately. Part of me wanted to just walk away and never speak to her again. But I knew I couldn't let it go. She'd stolen from me. She'd lied to me. She'd made fun of me behind my back. She damaged my credit and put my financial future at risk. And she was still doing it. Just 2 weeks earlier, she'd called me crying about Christmas presents. "I don't know how we're going to afford gifts for the kids," she'd said. "Money is so tight." "I hate to ask, but could you help us out? Just $500? I'd given her the money. Even knowing what I knew, I'd still given her the money. Because I was weak. Because I was scared. Because I didn't want to believe my own sister could be so cruel. Christmas morning at my parents' house was supposed to be perfect. Mom had made her famous cinnamon rolls. Dad had set up the tree with all the presents underneath. The kids were excited and running around. I brought gifts for everyone, like I always did. I'd spent over $1,000 on presents, money I could barely afford. But I wanted the kids to have a good Christmas. Danielle was in a great mood. She kept hugging me and telling me how much she loved me. She even posted a picture of us together on Instagram with the caption, "Best sister ever." It made me feel sick. After we opened presents and had breakfast, Danielle asked me to come to the kitchen. She said she wanted to talk to me privately. "Thank you so much for helping with Christmas," she said, closing the kitchen door. "The kids are so happy." "You're welcome," I said. I was waiting for her to thank me for the 8 years of support, waiting for her to acknowledge everything I'd done. Instead, she crossed her arms, and her whole expression changed. "Bianca, we need to have a serious talk." "Okay," I said, confused by her sudden change in tone. "You've been acting really weird lately, asking strange questions about money, making everyone uncomfortable." I felt like I'd been slapped. "What are you talking about?" "Mike and I have been discussing it, and we think you're becoming toxic for our family. You're always stressed about money, and it's affecting the kids. They've started asking why Aunt Bianca is always so sad and angry." I was speechless. I'd never said anything negative in front of the kids. I'd always been loving and patient with them. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," I started to say. "No," she cut me off. "There's no misunderstanding. We've talked about it as a family. Mom, Dad, Mike, and me, we all agree." My heart sank. "Agree about what?" "That you're not welcome here anymore." Danielle opened the kitchen door and walked back into the living room. I followed her, feeling like I was in a bad dream. Everyone was looking at us. Mom, Dad, Mike, and the 3 kids. They all stopped what they were doing and stared. "Pack your things, Bianca," Danielle announced to the whole room. "We voted. You're no longer welcome here." The silence was crushing. I looked at my parents, hoping they would say something, hoping they would defend me. Mom looked at the floor. Dad looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. Mike was actually smiling. He looked happy about this. My 8-year-old nephew, confused and scared, asked, "Why does Aunt Bianca have to leave?" "Because," Danielle said, her voice full of fake sadness, "Aunt Bianca has been very selfish lately. She's been making everyone uncomfortable with her bad attitude about money. We don't want that negative energy around our family. Selfish. After 8 years of giving them everything I had, she called me selfish. That's when something clicked inside me. Not anger, exactly, but clarity. For 8 years, I'd been afraid of this moment. Afraid of being rejected, afraid of being called selfish, afraid of losing my family. But now that it was happening, I realized something important. This wasn't my family. A real family doesn't humiliate someone on Christmas morning. A real family doesn't vote to kick someone out. A real family doesn't use and abuse one of their own members. I walked calmly to my purse and pulled out the red folder. "Before I go," I said, my voice steady and clear, "I think we should talk about where all your money really came from." The room went dead silent. Even the kids stopped moving. I placed the red folder on the coffee table and opened it. The sound of the papers rustling was the only noise in the room. "Danielle," I said, looking directly at her, "you're absolutely right. I have been acting different lately. Do you want to know why?" Her face had gone completely white. "Bianca, what are you doing?" "I'm being selfish," I said with a small smile. "Just like you said." I pulled out the first stack of papers. Bank statements. Lots of them. This is a complete record of every single dollar I've given you over the past 8 years. Every loan, every gift, every emergency payment. The total amount is $183,412. Mom gasped. Dad's mouth fell open. Mike stopped smiling. But that's not all, I continued. Would you like to see the text messages where you laughed about how easy it was to manipulate me? I pulled out the screenshots of her group chat with her friends. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. Here's a good one, I said, reading from the papers. Quote, "She's so desperate to be needed, it's actually kind of sad. I just have to act like I'm struggling, and she opens her wallet." Danielle's face went from white to red. "Stop it," she whispered. "Oh, here's another one," I continued. Quote, "She's such a pushover. I could probably ask her for money to pay for my kids' college, and she'd do it. She's never going to get married or have kids of her own, so she's basically just a bank account for our family." Mom started crying. Not sad crying, but shocked crying. Dad looked like he was going to be sick. "But wait," I said, pulling out more papers. "There's more. Remember how your business failed, Danielle? How you lost everything and couldn't pay me back?" I pulled out the photos I'd taken of the store. "Your business didn't fail. You sold it for a profit. The new owner told me you made good money when you sold it." That's not... Danielle was stuttering, trying to think of an explanation. "You lied to me about losing everything so you wouldn't have to pay me back. You kept all the profits from the business I helped you start with my $50,000. Mike was staring at his wife like he'd never seen her before. "Danielle, is this true?" She couldn't answer. She just stood there, opening and closing her mouth like a fish. "And finally," I said, pulling out the last set of papers, "we have this. A loan for $35,000, taken out in my name with my forged signature." I held up the handwriting analysis report. I had an expert compare the signature. "It's definitely a forgery. You practiced writing my name until you got good enough to fool the bank." Dad finally spoke up. "Danielle, you forged your sister's signature?" "You've been making payments on this loan to keep me from finding out," I continued. "But you fell behind, and now my credit is damaged. You put my financial future at risk to fund your lifestyle." That's when Danielle exploded. "You're crazy!" she screamed. "How dare you bring this up on Christmas, in front of my children?" "How dare I?" I asked calmly. "You just humiliated me in front of these same children. You called me selfish and told them I had a bad attitude. But you're worried about them hearing the truth? That's not the same thing." "You're right. It's not the same thing. What you did was much worse. You stole from me. You lied to me. You made fun of me behind my back. You damaged my credit, and then you had the nerve to call me selfish." "I never stole anything," she yelled. "That was all gifts. Family helping family." "Then explain the text messages. Explain the lies about your business. Explain the forged signature." She couldn't. She just stood there, crying and screaming about how I was ruining Christmas. My parents were in shock. Mom kept crying and saying she couldn't believe it. Dad looked angry, but I wasn't sure if he was angry at Danielle or at me. Mike was pacing back and forth, running his hands through his hair. "Danielle, how could you not tell me about this? How could you lie to me for years? I was protecting our family," she screamed at him. "I was trying to give us a good life." "By stealing from your sister," he yelled back. The kids were scared and confused. They'd never seen their parents fight like this. They'd never seen their mom crying and screaming. I felt bad for them. They didn't deserve this, but they also deserved to know the truth about their family. "Bianca, please," Mom said through her tears. "Maybe we can work this out. Maybe Danielle can pay you back over time." "With what money?" I asked. "She's been lying about her finances for years. She's been spending money she doesn't have while I've been working 2 jobs to support her lifestyle." "I can get a job," Danielle said desperately. "I can work and pay you back." "You've never worked a day in your adult life," I said. "You've been living off me for 8 years. What makes you think you're going to start now?" Things will be different, she insisted. I'll change. I'll be better. You said that every time you asked for money, every time you promised to pay me back, every time you made an excuse. I don't believe you anymore. I've already talked to a lawyer, I said. I'm pressing charges for the forged signature. That's a felony. I'm also suing you for fraud and theft. You can't do that, Danielle screamed. I'm your sister. You should have thought of that before you stole from me. Please don't involve the police, Mom begged. Think about the children. I am thinking about the children, I said. I'm thinking about how they've been raised to believe that using people is okay. I'm thinking about how they've been taught that family means taking advantage of each other. That's not true, Dad said weakly. Isn't it? You all knew this was happening. You all watched me give Danielle money year after year. You all knew she never paid me back, and none of you said anything. We thought you wanted to help, Mom said. I did want to help, but there's a difference between helping and being used. There's a difference between supporting family and enabling theft. We didn't know she was lying, Dad said. You didn't want to know. It was easier to let me be the bank for the family than to deal with the truth about Danielle. Mike was staring at his wife like he'd never seen her before. How much of our life has been paid for by Bianca? It doesn't matter, Danielle said quickly. It does matter, I said. Your house down payment, your kids' private school, your vacations, your business, your lifestyle. Most of it was funded by me. Mike sat down heavily on the couch. Oh my God, I thought you were just really good at managing money. She was good at managing my money, I said. My 5-year-old niece, Emma, came up to me with tears in her eyes. Aunt Bianca, why is everyone yelling? I knelt down to her level. Sometimes adults have to have difficult conversations, sweetheart. Are you really leaving? She asked. Yes, I am. But who's going to help Mommy with the bills? Even the 5-year-old knew. Even she understood that I was the one keeping the family afloat. Mommy and Daddy will figure it out, I said, giving her a hug. My 8-year-old nephew came over too. Aunt Bianca, are you mad at us? No, honey, I'm not mad at you. I love you very much. But sometimes grown-ups have to make hard decisions. Will we still see you? Emma asked. I looked at Danielle, who was glaring at me with pure hatred. I don't know, sweetheart, but I want you to remember that I love you, okay? You're destroying our family, Danielle said. I'm not destroying anything. I'm just not paying for it anymore. You're being vindictive and cruel. I'm being honest. For the first time in 8 years, I'm being completely honest. We're family, she said desperately. Family forgives each other. Family also respects each other. Family tells the truth to each other. Family doesn't steal from each other. I never meant to hurt you. Yes, you did. You laughed about it with your friends. You called me pathetic. You planned how to manipulate me. You absolutely meant to hurt me. She started crying again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sure you are. You're sorry you got caught. I gathered my coat and purse. The red folder was still spread out on the coffee table, and I left it there. Let them read through it all. Let them see exactly what their golden child had been doing for 8 years. This is really how you want to end things? Dad asked. I'm not ending anything. I'm just not participating in it anymore. What about the kids? Mom asked. What about them? They've been learning that it's okay to use people. They've been learning that family means taking advantage of each other. Maybe this will teach them something different. Please don't do this, Mom begged. I'm not doing anything. I'm just not being a doormat anymore. As I walked toward the door, Emma ran after me. Aunt Bianca, don't go! It's Christmas! I picked her up and hugged her tight. I know, baby, but sometimes adults have to do hard things. Will you come back? She asked. I looked around the room at my family. Danielle was still crying. Mike was staring at the papers on the coffee table. My parents looked old and tired. I don't know, I said honestly. I love you, Aunt Bianca, Emma said. I love you too, sweetheart. So much. I put her down and headed for the door. At the last second, I turned around. "Merry Christmas, everyone," I said. "Enjoy paying your own bills." The next few days were a blur. My phone rang constantly. Danielle called me dozens of times, alternating between crying, yelling, and begging. She left long voicemails telling me I was destroying the family, that I was being cruel, that I was overreacting. Mike called too. He was angry at first, but then he started asking questions. He wanted to know how much money I'd really given them. He wanted to know what else Danielle had lied about. "I thought we were just good at budgeting," he said. "I thought Danielle was really smart with money. I had no idea she was getting it from you." "She's very good at hiding things," I said. "How long has this been going on?" 8 years, since your wedding." There was a long silence. "The wedding I thought we paid for ourselves? I paid for $12,000 of it. She said you'd pay me back from the wedding gifts." "We never got enough gifts to pay you back $12,000. "I know." Another long silence. "What else don't I know?" "Everything. The house down payment, the kids' school, her business, all of it." Mike and Danielle's marriage started falling apart almost immediately. He was furious that she'd been lying to him for their entire relationship. He was embarrassed that their lifestyle had been funded by me. "I feel like I don't even know who I married," he told me during one of our phone calls. "You married someone who's very good at getting what she wants," I said. "I can't trust her anymore. How can I trust someone who's been lying to me for 8 years?" I didn't have an answer for that. Danielle started calling me even more, begging me to talk to Mike, to explain to him that she'd only been trying to take care of their family. "You're ruining my marriage," she said through tears. "I didn't ruin your marriage. Your lies ruined your marriage." "Please, Bianca, I'll do anything. I'll pay you back. I'll get a job. I'll do whatever you want." "It's too late for that." "No, it's not. It's never too late for family." "You're right. It's never too late for family. But you're not acting like family. My parents called me the day after Christmas. I was expecting them to be shocked, maybe even apologetic. I thought they'd be angry at Danielle for what she'd done to me. I was so wrong. The phone rang at 7 in the morning. It was Mom, and she was crying. "Bianca, how could you do this to our family?" she said before I could even say hello. "Do what?" I asked, still half asleep. "You know what? Yesterday. What you did to Danielle. What you did to those poor children." I sat up in bed. "What I did?" "Mom, did you read those papers? Did you see what Danielle has been doing to me for 8 years? That's not the point," she said. "The point is that you destroyed Christmas. You destroyed our family." "I destroyed Christmas?" Danielle kicked me out of the house on Christmas morning and called me selfish in front of everyone. She was trying to protect her family from negative energy. Negative energy? I was being robbed, Mom. Danielle stole over $180,000 from me. She didn't steal anything. You gave her that money. I gave it to her because she lied to me. She told me she'd pay me back. She told me she was struggling. She told me her business failed. All lies. Mom was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You could have handled this privately. You didn't have to humiliate her in front of everyone." Humiliate her? She humiliated me first. She called me selfish and told everyone I had a bad attitude. She made me look like the problem. That's different. How is that different? She was trying to protect her children from negative energy. You were trying to hurt her. I was trying to protect myself from being robbed. How is that different? Because family doesn't air their dirty laundry in public. Family also doesn't steal from each other. Family also doesn't forge signatures. Family also doesn't lie for 8 years. Danielle made some mistakes, but she's your sister. You're supposed to forgive family. Some mistakes? Mom, she committed fraud. She damaged my credit. She made fun of me to her friends. She called me pathetic and desperate. I'm sure she didn't mean it that way. I have screenshots of the text messages. She absolutely meant it that way. Then Dad got on the phone. I could hear him breathing heavily, like he was trying to control his temper. "Bianca," he said in his stern voice, the one he used when I was in trouble as a kid. "I think you're overreacting. Family members help each other. That's what family does. Help. Yes. Steal. No. There's a difference, Dad. Danielle wasn't stealing. She was borrowing. For 8 years? Without paying anything back? While lying about her finances and forging my signature? That's not borrowing. That's theft. She was going through a hard time. She needed help. She wasn't going through a hard time. She was living a lifestyle she couldn't afford and using me to pay for it. She was taking European vacations while I was working 2 jobs. You don't know how hard it is to raise 3 children. I know how hard it is to work 60 hours a week to pay for someone else's children's private school while I live in a tiny apartment. You chose to help. Nobody forced you. I chose to help because I believed her lies. I chose to help because I thought she was struggling. I chose to help because I thought she'd pay me back. She will pay you back. With what money? She's never worked. She's never had a real job. She's been living off me for 8 years. She'll figure it out. She'll figure it out by finding someone else to use, just like she used me. Dad was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Danielle made some mistakes, but she's sorry. Can't you forgive her? She's not sorry she did it, Dad. She's sorry she got caught. And she's only sorry because now she has to face consequences. Of course she's sorry. She's devastated. She's been crying for 2 days. She's crying because her free ride is over. She's crying because she got exposed. She's not crying because she hurt me. That's not true. It is true. When she called me yesterday, she didn't apologize for stealing from me. She didn't apologize for lying to me. She didn't apologize for making fun of me. She just begged me not to press charges. Maybe she was just scared. She should be scared. She committed crimes. You're really going to send your own sister to prison? I'm going to let the legal system handle it. If she goes to prison, that's because of her choices, not mine. Mom got back on the phone. What do you want from us, Bianca? What do you want from this family? I want you to acknowledge that what she did was wrong. I want you to stop enabling her. I want you to stop making excuses for her. We're not making excuses. Yes, you are. You're doing it right now. You're saying she made mistakes instead of acknowledging that she committed crimes. You're saying I should forgive her without her making any effort to make things right. She wants to make things right. How? By getting a job? By paying me back? By admitting what she did was wrong? Because she hasn't done any of those things. She's trying. She's trying to avoid consequences. That's not the same thing. You're being very hard on her. I'm being realistic. For 8 years, I was soft on her. I believed her lies. I made excuses for her. I enabled her behavior. And look where it got me. She's your sister. She stopped being my sister the moment she decided to steal from me. You don't mean that? I absolutely mean that. A sister doesn't forge your signature. A sister doesn't lie to you for 8 years. A sister doesn't laugh about manipulating you with her friends. She loves you. She loves my money. She loves having someone she can use. She doesn't love me. That's not true. When was the last time she called me just to talk? When was the last time she asked how I was doing? When was the last time she did anything for me that didn't involve money? Neither of them could answer that question. I've been invisible to this family for 8 years, I continued. The only time anyone paid attention to me was when they needed money. The only time anyone cared about me was when they wanted something. We care about you, Mom said. No, you don't. You care about me not causing problems. You care about me not rocking the boat. You care about me going back to being the family bank account. That's not fair. What's not fair is that I worked 2 jobs for 8 years to fund my sister's lifestyle while she made fun of me behind my back. What's not fair is that I lived in a tiny apartment while she lived in a mansion that I helped pay for. You could have said no. I tried to say no. Every time I questioned the money, I was guilt-tripped. Every time I asked for repayment, I was told I was being selfish. Every time I expressed concern, I was told that family helps family. Family does help family. And family also respects family. Family also tells the truth to family. Family also doesn't take advantage of family. Danielle wasn't taking advantage. She absolutely was taking advantage. She had a system. She knew exactly what to say to get money from me. She practiced her manipulation techniques. She was just desperate. She was desperate for money she didn't earn to fund a lifestyle she couldn't afford. That's not the same as being desperate for help. She has 3 children to think about. I know. I paid for their private school. I paid for their vacations. I paid for their clothes and toys and everything else. I've been thinking about those children for 8 years. So you understand why she did what she did. I understand that she wanted to give her children a good life. I don't understand why she thought it was okay to steal from me to do it. She didn't think of it as stealing. Then what did she think of it as? Because she never intended to pay me back. She made fun of me for being stupid enough to give her money. She forged my signature on loan documents. What would you call that? She made poor choices. She made criminal choices. There's a difference. She's still your sister. She's still a thief. How can you say that about your own family? How can you defend someone who stole from their own family? We're not defending her. Yes, you are. You're defending her right now. You're making excuses for her behavior. You're minimizing what she did. You're trying to make me feel guilty for standing up for myself. We just want the family to stay together. The family stayed together for 8 years while I was being robbed. Where was your concern for keeping the family together then? We didn't know what was happening. You didn't want to know. It was easier to let me be the family bank than to ask questions about where the money was coming from. That's not fair. It's completely fair. You all knew Danielle never worked. You all knew Mike's job couldn't support their lifestyle. You all knew they were living beyond their means. But nobody asked questions because it was convenient to have me paying for everything. We thought you wanted to help. I did want to help. But I wanted to help family, not fund lies. She was still family. Family doesn't lie to each other for 8 years. She was trying to protect her pride. She was trying to protect her scam. There's a difference. You're being very harsh. I'm being honest. For the first time in 8 years, I'm being completely honest about what's been happening in this family. Sometimes honesty isn't the most important thing. Sometimes it is. Sometimes honesty is the only thing that can save a family. But you're destroying the family. I'm not destroying anything. I'm just not paying for it anymore. The children are going to suffer. The children have been suffering. They've been learning that it's okay to lie and steal and manipulate people. They've been learning that family means using each other. That's not what they've been learning. That's exactly what they've been learning. They've been watching their mother lie and steal for years. They've been watching their grandmother and grandfather make excuses for criminal behavior. We're not making excuses. What would you call it then? We're trying to keep the family together. You can't keep a family together by enabling criminal behavior. You can't keep a family together by pretending that stealing is okay. She's going to pay you back. When? How? She's never worked a day in her adult life. She has no skills. She has no job. She has no income. She has no way to pay me back. She'll figure it out. She'll figure out how to find someone else to use. That's what she's good at. You don't know that. I know that she's been lying and stealing for 8 years. I know that she's never shown any remorse for what she's done. I know that she's only sorry she got caught. Maybe this will be a wake-up call for her. Maybe. But I'm not going to stick around to find out. I'm not going to give her another chance to steal from me. So, you're just going to abandon your family? I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm protecting myself from people who have been using me. We're still your family. Then act like it. Stop defending someone who stole from your daughter. Stop making excuses for criminal behavior. Stop trying to guilt me into being a victim again. We're not trying to guilt you. Yes, you are. You're trying to make me feel bad for standing up for myself. You're trying to make me feel responsible for keeping the family together. Aren't you responsible for that? Number. I'm responsible for my own well-being. Everyone else is responsible for their own behavior. That's a very selfish way to look at things. It's a very healthy way to look at things. I've been putting everyone else's needs before my own for 8 years. I've been sacrificing my financial security for people who didn't appreciate it. We do appreciate it. You have a funny way of showing it. You're angry at me for stopping the flow of money instead of being angry at Danielle for stealing it. We're not angry at you. Yes, you are. You called me to yell at me about destroying the family. You didn't call me to see if I was okay after finding out I'd been robbed for 8 years. We didn't think about that. Of course you didn't. You were too busy worrying about how this would affect Danielle. She's going through a hard time. She's going through a hard time because she got caught. I've been going through a hard time for 8 years. We're sorry. We didn't realize. You didn't realize? Because you didn't want to realize. It was easier to let me be the family ATM than to deal with the reality of Danielle's behavior. What do you want us to do? I want you to acknowledge that what she did was wrong. I want you to stop making excuses for her. I want you to support me instead of trying to guilt me into being a victim again. We do support you. No, you don't. You're calling me to complain about how I handled the situation. You're not calling me to say you're sorry for what happened to me. We are sorry. Are you sorry that I was robbed? Or are you sorry that I exposed it? We're sorry that it happened. But you're not sorry that Danielle did it. You're just sorry that she got caught. That's not true. Then prove it. Stop defending her. Stop making excuses for her. Stop trying to minimize what she did. We're not doing that. You are doing that. You've been doing it this entire phone call. We just want to understand your perspective. My perspective is that I was robbed by my own sister for 8 years. My perspective is that my family enabled her behavior by refusing to ask questions. My perspective is that I'm tired of being treated like a bank account instead of a person. We don't treat you like a bank account. When was the last time you called me just to talk? When was the last time you asked how my job was going? When was the last time you showed interest in my life that didn't involve money? Again, they couldn't answer. I've been invisible to this family for 8 years, I said. The only time anyone paid attention to me was when they needed money. The only time anyone cared about my feelings was when those feelings threatened the flow of cash. We care about you. You care about me not causing problems. There's a difference. What can we do to fix this? You can acknowledge that what Danielle did was wrong. You can stop enabling her behavior. You can start treating me like a daughter instead of a bank account. We do treat you like a daughter. Daughters don't get kicked out of the family on Christmas morning for being selfish after funding their sister's lifestyle for 8 years. Danielle was upset. Danielle was covering her tracks. She knew I was getting suspicious, so she decided to get rid of me before I could expose her. That's not what happened. That's exactly what happened. She couldn't risk me asking more questions about money, so she decided to make me the problem. She wouldn't do that. She did do that. She's been doing it for years. Every time I questioned the money, she made me feel guilty. Every time I asked for repayment, she made me feel selfish. She was just trying to protect her family. She was trying to protect her scam, and you're helping her do it by making excuses for her behavior. We're not making excuses. Then what would you call it? They were quiet for a long time. Finally, Dad spoke up. Maybe we need to think about this more. There's nothing to think about, Dad. Your daughter stole from your other daughter for 8 years. Your daughter forged signatures and damaged credit and lied to everyone. Your daughter made fun of your other daughter for being stupid enough to trust her. We had no idea. You had no idea because you didn't want to have an idea. You were happy to let me fund the family as long as nobody had to acknowledge what was really happening. That's not fair. What's not fair is that I spent 8 years of my life working 60 hours a week to pay for someone else's dreams while they laughed at me behind my back. We're sorry. Are you sorry it happened, or are you sorry I found out about it? We're sorry it happened. Then prove it. Stop defending Danielle. Stop making excuses for her. Stop trying to guilt me into being a victim again. We're not trying to guilt you. Yes, you are. You called me to complain about how I handled the situation instead of calling to see if I was okay. We are worried about you. You're worried about how this affects the family. You're not worried about how it affected me. We're worried about both. Then act like it. Stop defending someone who stole from me. Stop making excuses for criminal behavior. She's still our daughter. I'm still your daughter too. But you're not treating me like one. We love you both. You love the idea of us both. You love the family image. You don't love the reality of what we are. That's not true? It is true. You love Danielle because she's charming and social and makes you look good. You love me because I'm useful and I solve problems and I don't cause drama. We love you for who you are. You love me for what I do. There's a difference. What do you want from us? I want you to choose. You can enable Danielle's behavior and make excuses for her crimes, or you can support me and acknowledge that what happened was wrong. But you can't do both. We don't want to choose sides. You already chose sides. You chose Danielle's side the moment you called me to complain about how I handled the situation, instead of calling to see if I was okay. We didn't mean it that way. It doesn't matter what you meant. It matters what you did. We can work this out. We can work this out by you acknowledging that what Danielle did was wrong and by you stopping making excuses for her behavior. And if we do that, then maybe we can start rebuilding a relationship based on honesty instead of enablement. And if we don't, then I guess you've made your choice. The phone was quiet for a long time. Finally, Mom spoke up. We need to think about this. There's nothing to think about, Mom. Either you support criminal behavior or you don't. Either you enable theft or you don't. Either you treat me like a daughter or you don't. It's not that simple. It is that simple. You just don't want it to be simple because that would mean admitting that you've been wrong for 8 years. We haven't been wrong.